Oh, we're just going to eat and chat.
Yeah, like we don't have to worry about the fact
Can I
that
get my book, actually? Oh, yeah, do. Just.
I don't have to worry about the fact that I'm eating.
No. Just because
Well,
I have a sound cancellor as well, so anything under a certain decibel it won't pick up.
Can I curse?
Yeah.
We should read a passage from Closing Mullin.
Best closing monologue ever written.
What?
Best closing monologue ever written.
All time worst.
The worst monologue?
Give me the cop down. There's actually been a guy.
Give me.
I don't know if it's good at all though.
An absolute hunk of bread.
Oh my
I don't think it's
god.
worked out too well.
Garlic bread, yeah.
Hunky Joe.
Where'd you get
I
the
was
garlic
like,
bread
I'll
museum?
grill it. I was like, why?
It's Brandon's.
Hunky Joe.
Yeah.
Where'd you get this
I don't
bread? The
remember
bread
that.
museum? Yeah, Sil says it when he's in Vesuvius. The bread museum. Is this Puds?
Yeah. It's like, I got it in the Sheridan's.
The Bread Museum.
The Sheridan section in Duns. They have a little Sheridan section in Duns Hill.
Duns, man.
You belong in the
rebranded so
Sheridan
well.
You enjoyed that, I
You
think.
get Sheridan to make my gravestone.
Oh, thanks for this one.
Yeah, thanks a million, by the way. This is class. Look at that hometown. This, you don't know how to use
have
this.
it. Go on.
You don't know how to use it.
No, I don't. Do you have any like sliced pan, like the Duns one?
Alright, I'm going to start off by saying this. It sold over 1 million copies.
Is this being
And-
recorded? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sold over 1 million copies and it won the Pulitzer Prize. Is it not the ultimate like critics book and the masses book?
Yeah, no, it's no.
Or is it just if you don't like the book, you don't
It's
like
the
the
ultimate book club book, is what it is.
book? Yeah, okay.
Can
so,
I just? Yeah,
well,
what's
okay, I have a feeling there's rumblings coming from this side of it. So I'm just going to say I liked it a lot,
Yeah.
but I could see why someone maybe wouldn't like it. It's very long-winded.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things, if you like it, you're going to enjoy the whole book, but if you don't like it, you're really going to dislike it because there's no reprieve. You're not like, oh, well, last 80 pages there out of 300 were sound. Like, you know, this is like, no, I've got to go to 700. I met two different people. Joe Bowen name drop. He stopped like 400 pages in, and another guy stopped 700 pages in. I don't know why you do that, but but I thought it was class. I guess I have nothing to say on it because I just thought it was class.
And did you like Theo as a character?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I could identify with his thoughts. When he was thinking about things, I was like, yeah, that's probably how I think about it.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the book, I don't know, maybe this is kind of a cheat, but I was like, okay, he's actually more, remember when Boris explains to him, like, you don't remember that because you were right up all the time getting sick and like, you're in bits and you're blamed yourself for your mother's death and all that.
You were more upset than you knew, even.
And I think that the reader knew because even when he's going back, because he's narrating it from later in life, he doesn't seem to reveal a lot of the stuff. Which is strange because Boris kind of reveals it to him. He was more broken than you actually thought, and that's what you were giving out at one point. You were Mullin, saying like he just goes like, yeah, okay, and like
I know, and you said, well, I think it's actually no. He had an extremely difficult upbringing. His mother died in a terrorist explosion.
His father died in a car accident.
Is that and that's probably a pretty good representation of what grief looks like. You're always a bit befuddled and
It's kind of numb and empty and
and he's on drugs all the time from like 13 or something onwards.
So you think that was a good? It was done well that Boris has to tell him and the reader, oh no, actually the main character, unbeknownst to you, was even more upset than we knew all along. You said the new reader kind of knew that all along, but how would we like?
No, I think that you see it in retrospect then after that's a bit revealed when you go back and think. But then again, I don't know, when he's in Vegas, like
I don't think you see
it's pretty bad.
I don't think you see it in retrospect. I just think you just see.
Maybe if you read it again though.
Maybe if I read it again, I wouldn't, and I shouldn't have to, but like Boris shouldn't have to be the one that tells us.
He won't.
Actually, guess what? He was even worse. Because he's telling Theo, but really he's just telling us, like, you know.
Yeah. But Theo seemed to, he...
In 800, it just, in like a near 800 page book, it shouldn't have had to been revealed 600 pages in, or whatever, by one of the other main characters, that actually the main character was a lot more upset this whole time than we thought. She had so much time to let us know how upset he was.
But there probably is hints there that you didn't notice.
Maybe, yeah, so maybe in hindsight...
Like massive prescription drug use and I suppose that's the main one. It's Dickensian. Can we get that out there now? And I was looking over criticism of it there in like the section, and like, you know, Michiko Kakatu, I can never say her name. She's like from the New York Times. She's kind of like the person to impress. She's always really harsh. She liked it. Not saying she's God or anything, but people saying, yeah, it's basically a Dickensian novel told in the 21st century. Yeah, whatever, Bildungsroman, it's a coming of age tale. I think I like those stories. I think I like those epic adventure where it's like over someone's life. So I was thinking about that. But then, yeah, loads of people hated it. One guy even said he hated it and it was a bad book, but he loved reading it, which is really confusing. But,
I identify with that. I don't think I would be as strong as that, but like when I was reading it, I definitely enjoyed reading it. I read it really quickly, which I think was a sign. I think it's one of those books that like.
How long did it take you to read it?
A couple of weeks. Like I read it really quickly. Yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
Too, yeah.
Because I would read it at night, and I would kind of read for a bit longer than I would intend to read. You know what I mean? I would kind of get drawn into it. Like I thought it was quite fast.
Even though it's 800 pages, you kind of go through it faster.
Draws you in. The way it's very descriptive. Like maybe it's too descriptive sometimes for sure, but she does paint a great picture at times of places. Like.
Good use of the word picture there because it's about a picture.
Exactly. But like in Hobie's place and in Vegas and everything, I don't know. Like I really get a good sense of those places. Like I think she does that really well. But then at times I went, just when there was another coincidence, like it's so reliant on the coincidences and.
All right.
There were times
let's go and think of instances. Then.
But there were times when I just went, it really like just it getting a bit stupid. Like you're reliant on this too much. Like he runs into
Boris.
He falls back in with Boris. Like, the way he falls back in with Boris, that's a big turning point in his story. And that just like he literally
on
runs
the street
into
in
him
New
on the
York.
street.
Hey.
And also.
But wasn't Boris back looking for him?
But he didn't know. Like he wasn't. Boris didn't find him. That would have been one thing.
No, but Boris was looking for him. Remember, he came into the shop.
Yeah.
So it's not unreasonable that down in a Russian neighborhood he bumps into Boris. In fairness, like trying to buy cocaine at a bar, like which Boris probably was the guy dealing it, like.
But there are many others. Even.
But I already rinsed you on that one though.
No,
I did.
No.
Boris came back to New York to look for Theo. And he bumped
But he
into
didn't find him.
He
Okay.
did, but he bumped into each other because in the Russian neighborhood. Like he went to the shop to try and find him. Remember?
But Boris was just in the Russian neighborhood. Theo was in the Russian neighborhood just because he was looking for drugs.
Yeah,
You know?
but then he bumped into Boris there, who was in New York looking for him. So that's where he lives.
But I could be looking for someone in New York for centuries and I would never find him.
You'd be surprised though.
Okay.
Anyway, he probably would have found him eventually because he would have went back to the shop. So I don't think that's.
I don't necessarily.
It's not like they were in like Lanzarote together and be like, oh my god, there's Boris, let's reconnect.
I don't necessarily have a problem with books that are just driven by happenstance and coincidence by nature, but some of them, I think the dad dying really bothered me. There was finally starting to build a nice bit of tension. Mr. Silver's coming around to the house, he's looking for drug money. The book's starting to get a little bit interesting, and then it's like, he's dead in a...
Was that a suicide?
He just died in a car crash.
I felt like that was a suicide.
We don't know. And then, actually, your inheritance, let's get Theo back to New York. Let's move him away again. Do you know?
He moved back himself.
We don't need the dad anymore. Can we just get him out of here? Like, you know, I don't know where I'm going with this. We've got some interesting tension, but we've got these drug dealers coming to the house. They're looking for money. Where am I going with this? Just kill him in a car crash. Get him back to New York. Get him back to Obila. The dad dying was really annoying because things were interesting in Vegas. That was around the time I was starting to turn and mess even like, actually, Joe, I'm simmering a little bit.
Yeah.
How long was he in Vegas as well? Because I just saw there, it's 8 years when he gets back to New York and meets Hobie. It jumps 8 years. But I don't feel he was in Vegas.
Timescales are not obvious at all.
No, I don't think Vegas was even a year.
I'd be completely guessing.
I think I'd say it was around that, like a couple of years, I think maybe. But I think as well, sometimes you get the feeling the coincidences are necessary because she wanted to have so many episodes. If you divide it roughly between New York 1, Vegas, New York 2, fucking Amsterdam.
Cranking the story.
I have all four. They're all class. Yeah. I can write them all up, and she did. And they were written up well in terms of like the place.
But why is the Father's Day a coincidence? Did he not just die?
No, not. It's not necessarily that, and I don't mean coincidence. I'm saying like happenstance.
A device to just flip the story, but
as in like
click her fingers and drop everyone into Amsterdam, or
Theo never has any agencies. Like he's dead. It's like, oh, guess what? You have to sort out your inheritance.
He's a child.
You have to go back to New York. I know, but he never.
I don't know why I'm defending.
He makes any. He barely makes any decisions the whole book. Like he's just getting flaked around the world by other people.
Yeah.
The engagement party. Boris showed up. We have to go. Why? We have to go. Okay, just head to Amsterdam then. It's ridiculous.
I just didn't find it ridiculous when I was reading it.
I know.
I just did. Like every
Because
time
by
I
that
did.
point, it's not unreasonable that he go to Amsterdam. He's already done loads of wild shit. He's done all the fake.
It's not a reason that he would have done anything at that point, or that he would have been brought to any part of the world, or any part of the fucking city.
Hold on a minute now. Go back there.
Happenstance, Dickensian,
Happenstance.
coincidence.
Well,
no agency in the main character.
Can you come up with an adjective to describe him? Like one. I was trying to yesterday, and I don't know if I could. I like some. Yeah, some of the characters aren't great. The father is also like an unmitigated asshole. Like there's no.
Yeah.
The mother is this, beautiful, artistic, interesting, good-natured. Maybe people are in marriages like that, but I thought the father was way too bad.
Oh yeah.
And they're trying to thinking, okay, you think he does want to take him back and everything, and then he starts to steal from him, and he's just, and he was always an asshole. It wasn't really that he was nice, he was always a dickhead, and I don't know if I bought him at all. Like he was the necessary horrendous father.
Yeah.
Yeah, like actually, when I was reading that, I remember talking to my sister about it, and I was then like, okay, I know it's a book, but I feel like there is probably people like exactly like him. I was like, it's like some people don't love their children. It's like, he did not in any way.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know if he would have ended up with the mother. Maybe that's kind of
But I guess they were younger then, and he's described as kind of handsome, and he's an actor, and maybe everything seems. What it's never clear what she did, the mother, but yet they had this apartment in New York.
She worked in.
Oh, she worked
an
for
art agency or something.
Yeah, sorry, no, there was. You brought up a point early on about I love the word MacGuffin. Well, the whole book's about a MacGuffin, the painting, but the thing with the bombing, how they never explained the bombing.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit ridiculous. I only cared about that at the beginning. That's not a gripe I mainly have with the book, but I think it was a bit ludicrous to have a book that literally starts with a terrorist explosion, and Andy, the most weirdly insightful kid in New York, and Theo, there's one line in it saying alt-right extremists.
Yeah.
I just can't believe no one cared. Oh, why did my mother die? What happened? Who were the terrorists? What was it about? Donna, it doesn't matter.
Especially because they bombed an art gallery.
I'm going to open the book with the terrorist explosion, but it doesn't matter.
But maybe it's... I'm just thinking...
How does it not matter?
The whole thing with the bombing in the Delft, that the painting first survived the bomb. But that's just look, there's a comparison. But yeah.
But I don't know about that, actually. I know we talked about this before, maybe I kind of agreed with you, but thinking about it, there are bombings where people don't know who did it. You know what I mean? Like those bombings in Madrid. No one ever found out who did it.
No. Yeah.
I don't. I think it was at least disputed for like 5 or 6 years. And
find that they didn't know that
they would have speculated.
Find that they didn't know in the book. They don't know who did the bomb, but nobody talked about it. Nobody cared.
Do you think the 15-year-old or 12-year-old who lost his mother really is that what he's going to be going into? I mean, his life's been blown apart. He's kind of
between the conversations him and Andy have. They'll talk about anything else, and apparently they love talking about books and philosophy. Weirdly amount for a 13-year-old. They're not going to ask.
I don't think
so. Talk about
honestly, I don't think
never
so.
going to burn about it.
I suppose you could say if it was just those London bombings with lads just gone on. I know they pledged allegiance to something or whatever, but
they really matter who did it.
I suppose if she explained that they're just some inspired guys or whatever.
I don't think she needed to explain it. I think if we're criticizing kind of
I didn't know
unlikely things that happen in the book. It's fair enough for the book to start with a terrorist attack of some sort, and for that not to be. I think
So you think
it wouldn't be top on my list of
it wasn't great to me until you said it.
You think she had right? She has the general gist of the story in her mind. She's like, how do I get the painting in the hands of the main character? How do I make that happen plausibly? And she goes with terrorist explosion. And just how else would she? It seems like she had the idea in place that it's about this guy and he has this painting, whatever about the rest of his life, but how do I get it in his hands? I need it in his hands pretty early on.
Yeah.
I just think that's
pretty good idea.
A bit strange that it goes for...
I'm
not saying I could think of something better, but it's not something that bothered me the whole way through the book, but I remember at the start thinking, wow, I can't believe this book opens with a terrorist explosion and it looks like I'm not going to hear anything else about it ever.
I know, and I think you're right. I think for me it's kind of a broader point about the book, which is how much does the whole story, and this is a good thing about the story, but how much does the story rely on, the crazy stuff that happens and the amazing places she takes us to, all the stuff in Amsterdam, Vegas is really interesting out in those dusty old suburbs being built, New York.
But there's a good bit of New York where it was fairly straightforward.
There's always, but even in the furniture shop, it's this little kind of side tangent, which is so interesting about, you know, his fraudulent sale of the Chippendale, and even that affection with the furniture and all that.
Yeah.
Like that, those little bits are just great little bits, you know.
Yeah.
They all just kind of happen, and you know, I think the story is heavily reliant on kind of those just little bits which aren't necessarily connected together, you know.
What is
The story's reliant on everything besides Theo. If
And not the character, basically. Yeah.
you need people like Boris and the Owl Lad.
Wait a second now. He does a bit of agency. He takes the painting. He didn't have to do that. And he keeps it and he hides it and he leaves Vegas and goes back to New York.
He has to go back to New York.
He didn't have to go back.
He did. He was still a kid, as you said, so he had to sort out the inheritance. That's why.
Well, no, he could have stayed with
He didn't
Xander.
question anything like that.
He took agency on
Dropped
that.
the painting because Wellesley basically put it in his hands.
He still had to take it. Like. I don't know.
He does one thing at the start of the book. Then.
All right. So okay. This book starts. Bombing happens. He goes to live with the Barbers.
Yes.
I love that because when I worked as a doorman, they were the families, and that was kind of cool. And that was really well done. And like, and then
I hate that world though. That I just have no interest, and I know Steve said this as well. I have no interest in that Upper East Side wanky kind of obsessed with class kind of world. And I know that's not her fault. Like, you know, kind of I would like her to make me interested in it, but I just have no interest in that world, and she didn't make me any more interested in it.
okay.
I've never met those people. I don't know. I know that's not her fault. Like,
if anyone was kind of a bit of a character from a Dickensian novel, almost too much, was Hobie.
Dumbledore.
Yeah.
I've never even read Harry Potter. But Jesus Christ himself.
Well, you got a lot to say bad things.
No, I just.
Yeah.
He's just
too kind.
He's too nice.
It's
Yeah.
trope time.
Although he did get a bit. Yeah.
He's just so. Yeah, he's just so.
One of the people bulletin about it said it's a children's book for adults.
I've read that a lot. Like, yeah.
I'd say you're bullying when you heard that.
I wasn't bullying. Like, see, the thing is, I almost kind of accept a lot of the things to a certain degree. Not things. I think he's got some agency, but I just liked the book.
You enjoyed it.
I don't know.
I did enjoy
I feel
reading
like
it.
that's a stupid cop out as well.
No, it's the best one, and that's why I said to you, like 500 pages in, I was like, all right, the main litmus test of a book is like every now and then just do a little sound check yourself. Am I enjoying this? And the answer was just no for me for most of the book. It really was like.
Yeah.
I just not enjoying it.
Did you struggle to read it?
Yeah. They're just bits that just, I don't know what. I'd love to have heard her conversation with her editor. Like, there's a bit where he's getting the bus and he's afraid Pop Chick is going to get taken off the bus. It must be like 8 pages where he's kind of worried that, oh no, what if they see the dog and they take off the bus? Get that out of there. You already have an 800-page book here. There was just bits where I was just like, I can't see how. I don't know.
I'd say they got it down from about 2,000
Sprawling for the
pages.
sake of sprawl.
It took 11 years to write the book. It takes like 10 years to write any book. I listened to an audiobook, so the Pop Chick scene was great in audiobook.
Yeah,
That's just a small
big difference.
example of
though.
one.
I
just
wonder if
didn't
that make a
matter.
difference.
I was just going to say, I think it would, because
I
you could
did
just let
both
it go, but
Because they did all the kind of voices. It was good.
I did enjoy reading it. Like, even I became more critical of it when we discussed it in the months after I finished it, you know, kind of like talking about the flaws in the book and the characters and things like that. And be like, yeah, it's a bit cheap, you know. Then I spent kind of 2 hours last night just flicking through it from start to finish, reading a few pages, and I was fucking drawn into it again. Do you know, like I was kind of enjoyed it a little bit, you know, like.
And there's momentum. Once you get 200 pages in, then you're knowing everyone. You're kind of like,
Yeah, but even the first time I read it, like when it flipped storyline for the second or third time, there was, I remember even, I think
There has to be
Tanisha once,
kickback, like.
I just went, oh no, like I'm not sure if I can keep buying it. You know what I mean? Like you're really indulging yourself here. You know?
they shouldn't have went to Amsterdam.
Yeah, I think it was just
I
too
feel like
much.
that was a bit silly.
He said Amsterdam was his Damascus moment, but I don't see in what way though.
Wait,
I know he tried to kill himself, like.
yeah.
And then he just kind of like didn't, and then he kind of woke up next day and was like, actually, and he was just fine, like, you know.
Life is short.
Oh,
no, we won't even go.
we'll save that then.
The monologue.
We'll save that.
Okay, sorry.
We'll save that.
Yeah, the idea that him calling you said they didn't need the Amsterdam moment, and Theo himself saying it was Damascus moment, and just see how, like, And I know Steve had beef with that bit as well.
I don't think
He's like, he just tries to kill himself and then he just doesn't. He kind of bottles it, and the next day he's just kind of like, he's just grand again. He's just.
We had
I want to go back to New York again. Jesus Christ. Why? Like, what changed?
I don't know.
Your mind?
I mean, look, I could say
What
to you,
changed his mind
people
there?
do that all the time.
Yeah,
you know,
I know.
But I mean, I think they should have just done that whole thing in New York. It was just like a new locale. It was like Amsterdam, like, because I loved.
Exactly. Let's get.
She
a new
said
locale.
that. Sorry, just to interject on that. She gave an interview and talking about the book, and they were like, "You take 10 years to write a book. What's the story with that? Where's the genesis of the Goldfinch?" And she actually said it was before I wrote The Secret History, when I was in Amsterdam. And she said she writes things down, and she kind of wrote Amsterdam at the time. And then she said, "I didn't know it would find its way into a book." And I kind of went,
What?
"Ooh,
So I
don't really like that." You know, like, no, I get that writers. But you know, you see something, you write it in a book
She
later.
wrote
but
that
like,
story.
well, she wasn't too clear on that, but it almost sounded as if like that was ready to go. Like it just needed to be shoehorned. Like it really sounded like that. It was an interview with some
Her office
BBC
is full of
journalist. Now it could be that she just kind of, you know, had, I want to set something in Amsterdam, fine. But it sounded as if she kind of, you know,
And how do we get them to Amsterdam?
was ready to pop.
Let's just have Bart walk into the party and be like, "We need to go now," and he just says yes, and they just fly to Amsterdam. Soft.
Bart
Very handy.
Bart
Very
was a bit too larger than life, like Fagin from Oliver Twist, like.
Yeah, but they flipping needed him because Theo wasn't going to get much done on his own. He just lived his life in the wake of other explosive people. Like, if it wasn't for Boris, there'd be spits going on.
All right, can we all agree on one good thing about that? There's parts of the book where when they're talking about art and stuff, like the bit where they go to the German guy's apartment in Upper East Side, that was class.
In New York.
Remember
Horst.
that he's like, him and Theo have this discussion.
Him and Theo have the discussion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was good.
That's good, yeah.
And I felt they should have just, because he's linked into the Amsterdam stuff, they should have just did all that. That was leading towards that, like do that in New York and just.
Yeah, that would have made way more sense.
And they got away with the murder, or the
Very handily.
Yeah.
Very softly.
And Theo just fucking is a cold-blooded killer as well.
Yeah.
Well,
As well as being really, really boring.
heat of the moment, like.
Yeah. What happened to Kitsy?
Agency there.
Who cares?
Yeah, what happened in the end?
Nothing.
No.
She kind of half goes when he's having his traveling around the world moment, buying back all the pieces. You know, the wedding is still on. You know, sometimes I go to the barber's.
Oh yeah.
Just like he leaves the engagement party with Kitsy, goes to Amsterdam, kills someone. You know, decides. Then it shifts. Let's have this whole new life where he's traveling around the world. What happened to his wife? We don't need her anymore.
No, they're not married.
Let's get. I know, but his.
Yeah.
Let's get her out of the story. Kitsy's done. When the father was done, we killed him. Kitsy's done. Like, we don't need to mention her again. Nobody's paying attention to these people. We just use them and we throw them away. Like, I can't believe she just wasn't in it again. Like.
Yeah.
Why would she be?
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't matter. Like, none of them mattered. Like,
Well, that's fair, I think.
That was a bit of a weird. Well, I guess he was kind of marrying the past. He was marrying like in memory of Andy and your man, and to do for the mother almost.
I know.
It wasn't really.
but I remember, like, as I was coming up to that before the closing monologue, I guess it's part of it when he's talking about him traveling around the world, his new life, and he's buying back these pieces. I was thinking, and I wrote it down as a note. I was like, "Where the hell is Kitsy?" Because I was like, they better not just pull a Theo's Owlad on. And then
Kitsy jumped up.
Then there was like again 4 or 5
Kitsy has since died.
4 or 5 sentences. 4 or 5 sentences where it was like, you know, the engagement is still on. You know, I've visited the Barbers once or twice since. It's actually been quite cordial. I even got Mrs. Barber to come out of the house once for lunch in the some hottie over East Side place. And then it was actually like
So classic.
it was like a little moment between me and Donna where she's like, I know you're probably wondering what I did with that character, and yes, I have just used her and thrown her out of the book, but here's 3 lines to say that, just so I can say that I didn't just throw her away, you know, but really I have done that. And then I read that part and I crossed out my note. It's like, alright, they half mentioned Kitsy there, but it was cheap. She was tying things up. She was like, do I have any loose ends left? Oh crap, he was about to get married. I visited last night, you know.
Okay. I just.
What are my other loose ends? Actually, there's loads. I'll just talk about art and pull out.
Like a short.
Stop. But there was the Kitsy thing, not kind of like. They both decided before even the engagement party that they were just getting married out of like.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, the engagement's still on. Like, they're probably going to get married just for like whatever, you know, because it's good for us.
Yeah. I don't think that means. It's kind of like it should mean, all right, that situation's dealt with. We don't need to talk about her.
What kind of is like?
That seems the way she writes it, like, so.
I don't think she knew how to end the book because there wasn't much development.
No,
but like because in fairness now, Theo doesn't have much content. I think like, and I don't think she knew how to end the book because like.
He's a bit like Pip from Great Expectations.
Well, he's not really though. Oh no, Pip is good. Yeah. Have you read it?
I watched the miniseries.
I read it a couple of years ago.
I remember it.
No, Pip is good. Like Pip is a great character.
We can all agree though, he's a bit like Pip.
No, he's not anything like Pip. Pip is class.
He's Dickensian.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to say that again.
Can we get that on record? Like,
I just think she didn't develop him much, and then it was very difficult to end the book because it was hard to say, you know, what point he had come to. And despite the fact that there's a 10-page closing monologue about like the deepest monologue you could imagine about life, like I still don't know where he ends up. You know what I mean?
No, he didn't.
Even in terms of like
He's just tipping away. Like.
mentally or that's it. Like
He's working in the shop.
He's
like,
just tipping away.
life is class. Love is everywhere. Life is also short. Enjoy it while
Sometimes
you can.
good things come in bad situations.
Exactly. Good things happen to bad people.
You just
but
preserve beauty.
There
and,
is some good stuff.
It's immortal.
It was so sickening to see online. I watched one or two like just video reviews, and they're actually young enough people, like probably like they seemed like 16, 17, giving like fair enough reviews. One of them really didn't like it, one of them loved it. The one who didn't like it, and she brought up a good few of the points we brought up here. There were less. It was more kind of just I just didn't enjoy it kind of thing. It was too long. It was a bit more kind of, you know, freewheeling criticism. All the comments on it, this amount of people underneath it saying like, oh my god, you just didn't get the book. It was so sickening to read that, as if it's hard, like you missed the whole point. It's not hard to miss the whole point. She basically lays it all out in that last monologue. She just crowbars in, oh by the way, this was the point, like, you know. So it was so annoying for all these people to be throwing that around, like, you just didn't get it. It's like, this is impossible not to get, like, you know.
Yeah. It's painstakingly said.
She puts it.
She literally said life is short.
in.
It wasn't even like
Life.
any more colourfully than that.
I feel like I must
Ah,
say
what?
this.
It was- no, it
I
was-
feel like I must say this urgently to you, my non-existent reader, as if you were in the room now. Life, if anything, is short.
Or life, whatever
and then
it
it's a
is.
bit more, like.
It's a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's way more.
No,
but it
and
doesn't-
it's not that the stuff is untrue, you know.
Yeah.
Good art it doesn't feel good to you because
It should have been a speech
because
by
it's not
one character
universal.
in the book to another character, maybe.
Yeah, also he starts to just speak directly to us. I don't know, that kind of shift was...
But is he not speaking directly to us the whole time?
Yeah, but it's not as obvious all the time. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Him and Hobie basically have it out.
At the beginning and the end.
That's like the pre-monologue where they're just talking about like he tells Hobie the whole story, and Hobie goes, actually you'll never guess this. Welty also loved the Goldfinch when he was younger. Brilliant, by the way.
And he has a photo with it. He has a photo of it. Or a tape.
I loved it.
This is nothing to do with the painting. And they make true comments about that whole thing of, you know, art doesn't feel good to you because it's universal, but it feels like a whisper from an alleyway. It feels like it was written just for you, painted just for you, recorded just for you. True, but it shouldn't be the thing that the whole book like culminates towards. Life is short and good art feels good because it's just for you. The pursuit of beauty is a trap, but you know, art can be a bit of a reprieve, but they're not exactly piercing insights. You know, I don't see how it was a class monologue.
I thought it was good. I was landing in the plane and I was like on the tarmac and I was like, this is class.
I didn't like it at all, the monologue.
It was an audiobook as well, so it was. But like, okay, at that point you already hated the book, so I mean, she couldn't have saved it, really.
I liked it. I just was a bit tired by the end because of the story. Amsterdam kind of tired me out, you know. But I thought the story was driven on, and I kind of like, you know, the painting is good because like in a real juvenile sense, I wanted to know what was going to happen to the painting throughout the story. You know what I mean? Like it really did drive it on a bit, I thought. But then I was kind of just tired at the end of it, and then this really whiny monologue comes out of nowhere, and like Theo, who hasn't really spoken about anything at all, you know, hasn't really given us an insight into his views on life or anything, goes on this deepest of all monologue soliloquy ever, you know.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of cliched as well.
Completely.
And I don't feel like that
Why do
was
people
something he
surprise?
would do.
I'm just saying, I would love to read their judgment, I guess. Because I mean, so, like...
They said it had like heart and mind or something. I read the comment from the...
Yeah, I saw it as well.
Pretty...
I mean, she writes...
Well, you don't like it, but you like it, kind of.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
I'm not
enjoyed
just
it. I
saying
don't think it
this for
should
the
have won
sake of it
Pulitzer
to
Prize.
kind of like...
No, I know
maybe
you're not. You clearly don't like the book.
I'd never recommend it to anyone. I really didn't like it. Like there was bits I tempered down a bit like 500 pages in, but Jesus, I've never had to get 500 pages into a book to kind of be like, alright, it's not completely crap.
Mm.
And then I tilted back towards, actually it is kind of completely crap towards the end again.
Mm.
And again, that litmus test, am I enjoying this? Every time I pick it up, am I enjoying this? Am I enjoying this? It was no way more than it was yes.
Mm.
Which is funny, because in that interview with Charlie Rose, he's saying like, you know, why do you write? It's like, reading should be fun, you want to create that, like, I was like, this was so not a fun book.
But I thought it was fun.
I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. Like,
Didn't get that at all.
Like I read books where I read Sally Rooney books, and I remember like reading them, fly through them in like 2 days, and I was like, that was enjoyable, yeah. Now, never thought about them again after reading them, and like they're getting all these accolades. So, what am I trying to say with this? What I'm trying to say is, you seem to be like that a bit. You enjoyed the Goldfinch, but you were kind of like, it's not a great book. Whereas I enjoyed it and I thought it was good.
it wasn't a slog to pick it up for me at all because it was something new and exciting every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There'd be a whole new thing. Like,
Epic. It was
then
an
kids
epic
came in and
kind of
did it. Yeah, it was definitely an attempt to be epic.
I love the bit with Rizal died, that was class. Steve sent a voice note.
Oh yeah, play it out there.
Alright, but before we do that,
Okay, well we can talk more about it.
so I will after, but see what he said. But would you recommend it to someone, Kira?
It would depend on the person.
But it's not a no, like overall.
Like, I don't know if I would because it's so long and it's dangerous in that if someone is annoyed, for example, in the way that I know it's like an extreme example, but no, but you're not alone in that at all.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's massive. I think a high enough percentage of the people that have read it have kind of come out where you came out on it. There is a big danger.
Except for the People Surprise Committee.
There's a big danger that you're going to waste a lot of someone's time.
A lot of someone's
Yeah.
You know,
And then
like,
take a
and
book.
I don't know if I want to do it to someone. It's okay if it's.
I'm
like a
surprised you
300
liked
thing.
it. If I was to read that on my own and Abby asked what I thought I would have thought you wouldn't have liked that book. I don't that doesn't mean anything.
Do you know what it reminds me of?
I thought you would have hated it.
Remember that movie, Curious Case of Benjamin Button? With Brad Pitt, where he grows...
No, I actually haven't seen
He
it.
grows...
I haven't seen it either.
You've never seen it, right?
No.
I like that movie
He
a lot.
grows backwards, right?
Yeah, but it's very tropish. It's a bit like it's about a lad growing backwards. Like literally, it's like Forrest Gump. Like, or something,
Yeah.
you know. I don't know. I'm just like a sucker for it. I was like, it's an adventure. It's like his whole life. You're like,
That's how I felt. I felt like
Yeah.
I was a sucker for it. I
Yeah.
really did. I felt like, sometimes they're kind of cheapish movies, and they're cheap because it's something that when it's kind of done half well, it draws people in. It's kind of interesting. The places
Yeah.
were interesting, but I guess half of our discussion is not like, is it interesting and enjoyable in that sense, but we're also kind of talking about, did it deserve the Pulitzer? Is it a great novel? Is it an American epic? And like, I think no, really. I think you have to say no. Like,
You have to say
I think
no.
you have to say no.
1 second. I won't say no. Because I think it's kind of like, because you didn't like it, kind of, and that's fine. It's like you were allergic to every other bit of it. Whereas like, it's the opposite for me. Because I liked it, I was like, I suppose I'm like really willing to maybe
Luxuriating in all of the...
like maybe overlooked is the wrong word. I don't, because I was like, yeah, I was ready for it when
Yeah, no.
I was
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
I was primed.
You were.
Yeah.
You wanted more.
Yeah. So then it was like, another fucking 300 pages, nice one. Amsterdam, fucking yeah. Let's go. Like, go to Bangkok.
I wonder if he'll be back in New York. Oh, he's already back. Yeah. What time is it?
I loved it when he rang the US embassy to try and get his passport. I was like, it's Christmas. I was like, ring the Irish embassy there. I love that bit. Yeah. I love all the bits about me, like being a doorman, Vegas. So I think that's my fundamental point, though. Yeah, I think it's almost like, because actually the first 50 pages I was kind of like, it's a bit it's a bit drawn, like it's long-winded,
It's a bit ludicrous.
but then it was almost like it was like you were in fourth gear, you had to be going kind of fast. And you were sound. But yeah, you had to be voracious. You couldn't leave it for a while.
You couldn't tip in.
That's the thing, it wouldn't let you.
Yeah, I felt like that. But on the style though as well, I think like a lot of people talk about how descriptive she was and that was good and everything, and then people say she went too far. Like, it's not only how descriptive, but I think sometimes in the style I felt like she was almost treating you like you were a bit stupid. Like one thing she did a lot was use kind of parentheses a lot. I just remember one example where she was like, as if it were infinite, or like something like that, and then in brackets, because it was. And it's like, what? You know, that was just an example of like, just say the thing and then let me draw, you know? Like, she was like, because it was. Who's now saying it was? Is that someone else? You know, that's like, no, I can verify the use of the word.
Yeah.
Like, she really overdid it, you know? She was so indulgent. I've just... Like, it looks unedited, do you know? It looks unedited. Like, some of those paragraphs look unedited. And you can have long descriptive paragraphs. But there's a lot of even punctuation and lists and... I mean, that's a style as well, but really I felt like sometimes it was just overdone, you know, way overdone.
She calls... I wish I took it down because I really wanted to bring it up at that point. She's describing Hobie as he's describing Hobie as a cook, and the word she uses, it's like... altitudinarian level of just like the most nonsense. Hobie was a cook, and I had to just take out for not the first time. Take out my thesaurus.
I looked at
the word
a few
was
times.
Get out of here. Why does that sense?
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was. No, I think it was class. The as you said, when she's luxuriating the language of like she's describing the settees and stuff. That's class. I love descriptive language, but in bits like that, that's where the editor should have been like, this part here when you say Hobie was a cook, this is so needless. Why are you using this word? I've never even heard this word.
That happened to me too. I said it to
a good few times. Like
I had to get the dictionary out. I
didn't get it
three times.
yeah, I missed the whole
three times.
That's actually the linchpin of the whole book.
Something to do with the painting.
It's not hard to read at all, even though it's descriptive. Because when people keep saying that, I was always a bit like, yeah, I suppose she definitely takes her time to describe the room, but do you know you'd read a writer like, I don't know, John Balvin or someone, and it'll be a really tight sentence, very descriptive, but it'll be almost a bit hard to read, is not the word, but like more literary.
Yeah.
Such,
yeah. I took one of them down because I thought it was so class. Okay. When they're talking about, you were talking about her old lad when he gets to Vegas. Yeah, I think it's just before that bit, and he's like, this is about the old lad arriving in Vegas and how it seemed to really suit him more so than New York. It's like, the desert air magnetised him. Back in New York he looked worn out and seedy, but out here in the rippling heat, the white sports coat and the cult leader sunglasses just made sense. I was like, that was class.
Oh, yeah. I meant to.
There was
so many more notes.
Nice bits. There was the one I read this morning, I think, or last night, when she's describing the goldfinch, like the actual bird.
A prisoner looking at another prisoner. Stop.
Yeah, I know.
Jeez, I better stop eating this.
Yeah, the goldfinch. Symbol of bravery, all fluff and brittle bone.
There was some class bits about art though, I thought. It was that bit with your man Horst, and they're like drug addicts like under the carpets under him.
I kind of forgot about Horst. That's the thing, like some of those episodes can just fall out. Do you know what I mean, in your head?
Yeah.
Like
what? And Sasha. I'm afraid to ask you because I think you probably hated this bit. When he figured out that he didn't have the painting all along.
Yeah. That was a bit of a letdown.
No, she gave a hint because we came up in a drug deal in Atlanta or somewhere in Miami, remember? And he was like, "Oh, it must be a fake."
And
we should all read it again, maybe.
If he loved it, it seems strange that he loved it so much. And there's a lot of references to, and Hobie says it himself in reference to some piece in the corner that he's restoring. It's ignoble really to have your life be like centered around things. But when they kind of attach you to some wider beauty as art does, that's a good thing. And it can really tie you back to the past if you have something that relates you back to a certain time, which is one of the main things it was doing for him. Yeah. You would say, right?
Yeah.
It reminded him of the time he had with his mother. And he never looked at it.
In Vegas he did look a bit, but then after that, yeah. I guess he was
for years.
He was so terrified though. He just used to pay the fee, wasn't it? And then
I kind of had assumed, I think that he was looking at it.
I think I did.
That's why I thought he was looking at it, because I was kind of like,
time.
how could he not have known? Because I don't think she lets on that, maybe if we go back and look at it.
But actually, yeah, now I think we go back and look at it. I think, remember when he wakes up one morning, he's like, geez, I didn't realise I fucking packed this thing. It'll take me ages to open it. That was Boris that did that. And then I guess he was like, sure.
The central artefact of his life. Turns out he hadn't been...
But just knowing it's there, I suppose, was kind of his thing.
Yeah.
Did you imagine it rolled up as a sheet?
No, I measured it in the thing.
As a canvas.
Yeah,
it's painted on, it's on wood.
I didn't know that.
He makes reference to it, and it's tiny. Like,
yeah.
Did you watch the movie trailer?
Yeah, it looks
shocking. And there was a Vox article, and it made me. That's all out of copy.
So,
Yeah, so there was a box.
Thanks for giving it to me.
I don't know why I did that.
How much do I know?
There was a box there going, The Goldfinch is a bad movie because it's based on a deeply flawed book. And I was like, oh.
The source material is trash.
But then he was the guy
That's
saying,
what
like,
the
yeah, I
movie is.
couldn't stop but read it. Like, I loved reading it. I'd tip away all
Yeah, I
I'll
don't.
make more coffee.
I can't really think of
Don't
an
worry.
example of a book like that because I heard a lot of people say that. I didn't like it, but I really enjoyed reading it.
That was like me with the Sally Rooney books, kind of. Like, you're like, oh, you're like, these characters are unbearable, and like, it's, do you know? But you're like, oh, but
I'm tipping through.
I can't stop reading it.
That's the expression you used earlier. Like, I'm just a sucker for something like that. Like, you know, it's like a good story about lost treasure or something like that. You know, it's that's
like
where the
watching,
childishness comes in. It's like,
yeah.
Look, it took me in like a movie. Like, look,
Like
I'm not
Monsters,
nothing
like
profound.
Joan
It didn't
History
affect me, but like, you know, like.
Unrequited love. Will
I
you get a
got
bit
drawn in,
of
like, you know, they went to Amsterdam as a buzz. They were taking drugs. There was this painting. You know, they were on the run. He was, you know, defrauding everyone, selling the Chippendale, and like
Lucius Reeve.
Lucius Reeve.
That
what
was
a
a bit
name.
rattling. Like that, there was moments where I was like, okay, I'm sweating a bit now.
Yeah.
That was a bit scary. That guy's got that hanging over him. But then,
But don't worry, because it didn't really matter in the end.
okay, that's valid.
You know,
Even though
don't worry. Like we've introduced a new interest in intention in the book, and you're kind of like, all right, this is where it starts popping. Don't worry, it doesn't matter. He'll kind of come back into it later because he tells Holby the crack. Lucius Reeve shows up at the house and tells Holby everything Theo did. But for ages, you're like, oh, it didn't matter that he showed up. And then I became to just expect things to just not matter anymore. Horst,
Well, the painting-
Sasha.
No, but he kind of explained, and I think it was a bad idea because I think you brought in a character, you might as well use him. He goes, Reeve won't rat me out because if he does, then he won't get the painting. He won't rat me out for the antique. So there was kind of a Cold War stalemate type thing.
Yeah.
But then, maybe I forgot, who was the guy outside the shop who looked like a construction worker who'd be looking in? Do you remember like a few different times?
Oh, the Russian guy.
Was that Boris?
I think it was it Boris's people or something.
Or maybe Boris's people? Or I thought it was
Are you
Reeve.
saying someone was coming to visit? Someone was coming
So,
to
no,
the shop?
Boris came in one time to the shop and then
Yeah.
they're like, it wasn't here, and they describe him, and it is Boris' description. But there's a few other occasions where there's a guy across the street dressed like a construction worker. He even says like he looks Irish or something.
Oh, right.
And he's there like once or twice, and you think like, oh, it's the feds or someone's coming, but then it just
didn't matter.
oh,
I
guess it
remember
doesn't
thinking that it
matter.
was Lucius Reeve's people or something, but then I thought
But private detective,
thought it
maybe
was
wait and
kind
see if he
of-
goes uptown to get the
But he
painting.
doesn't.
Well, I thought then eventually we kind of learned that it was Boris's people or something. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
We just don't know. Like.
What did Boris
No,
do?
but I'm not. She may have tied that up. It's so long since I read it.
She might say, by the way, Kinsey married the guy who was outside the shop. Oh.
Oh,
And Mrs. Barber had the painting all along.
Mrs. Barber.
Yeah, it's just up in her house.
God, I wonder is Donna actually herself so obsessed with taste and class as all the
She looks at
as
the way
so
she
many
dresses.
in the
Yeah.
book seem to
And
be.
her
Like.
suits.
The
They're
Charlie
such a
Rose
class.
interview was just class.
Yeah, it was.
Do you think? Maybe this isn't a criticism of the book, but you know, all the characters and all the people are kind of like, I don't know, quite genteel. Like everyone is. I mean, they're all kind of white. And,
Even Boris is very.
they're all kind of
He's very cosmopolitan.
interested and interesting, and yeah, they're kind of cultured. Even like, I mean, all
It
of
actually
them
says
really,
it in the Wikipedia thing. Goes, and he meets Boris Pawlowski, a cosmopolitan Ukrainian emigre. I was like, it's not 1840.
Yeah.
He's an immigrant from Ukraine.
Yeah, like, do they have to be so
Emigre. I'm going to start using that.
well
word.
traveled and cultured and have so much, you know?
But it's, I don't know, maybe this is something I've thought through, but it seems like a lot of the people who had good taste, you know, were the ones who were less morally bankrupt, you know.
It is a correlation.
The people who cared about art and actually knew their stuff had good taste. you
Well,
know?
Lucius Reeve.
But he just wanted the money.
He's just
Yeah.
a bit snidey though.
But I'm saying, but he had good taste, though, didn't he? He's like, that's Chippendale. I know it.
So did Hobie, good guy.
Yeah.
Xandra, you know, she doesn't, she's trash. The outlet, he doesn't, he's trash. The mother, she did, she's nice.
Xander
You know?
was such trash.
It's just like if you had good
Great
if you
name.
had good taste, you're just like, this is a good person. We can tell because they understand art. Might not
Yeah.
necessarily be
Maybe
true.
there is a point there. Maybe
But there was a
is
good
point there.
maybe-
Yeah.
I see, it kind of bubbled up a little bit, you know, that all the baddies, for want of a better word, weren't in that world, you know, didn't get the Theo's, the pursuit of pure beauty is a trap, but art's a class kind of thing. Everyone who didn't get that was a baddie, like, you know, because they just didn't get art.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That could have been her own kind of tendency coming through as well.
Yeah.
I didn't pop. I don't know why. I'm always afraid it'll dilute my own thoughts before I talk about it. But yeah, I want to see her talking about the book a bit more, and because that other book she was talking about in Cherry Rose was Secret History.
Yeah.
Which I'm definitely picking for the next book.
No, don't. You can't pick. You can't do another Donna.
Only these 3 books. 10 years sure it takes to write a book.
No, I won't read another of her books. I don't think, to be honest. I'm not really motivated to read Secret History now.
It's not that big though.
Yeah, I know, but maybe eventually, but like definitely not. You know.
I actually remember I was in
time.
a tutorial for English or something, and someone goes, I remember this girl I turned around and goes, is it like uninvitedly just goes like, Secret History, it's my favourite book, and I was like, never reading that book. Like here I am like defending it against fucking scumbags. So when we listen to what Steve has to say, come on, Steve, I have a feeling he's going to be like.
I had a brief chat with him yesterday evening. I must say, so I kind of know where he falls.
Are you on the same page?
He doesn't hate it as much as me, but I don't think he liked it.
Right, so I'll try and keep this relatively brief. I started the book and I was hooked. Like the opening couple hundred pages, the explosion, the lead up to the explosion, the way it's written from his perspective, like experiencing an explosion, the confusion and like the sort of overwhelming, like insanity of that situation, the meeting the old man in the wreckage, the way the wreckage is described, the uncertainty, the old man telling him to take the ring and the painting and to go find his colleague, and I was like, whoa, I'm into this for sure.
Yeah, this button.
And like after that whole section kind of ended, it became a bit of a slog. After that, like the whole section with the Barber family and whatever, that was fine, and then you learn more about his character, that's grand, and then they go to Las Vegas, which is where the section I kind of enjoyed the least of the whole book. Granted it's been a few months since I've finished it, but like in my memory it's just pages and pages of Theo and Boris out of their heads on drugs or alcohol or like smoking cigarettes, lazing around, arguing with each other about nothing, just the whole Las Vegas section I just thought was so weird, and the whole plot line with the father owing money to that kind of shady businessman, I was like, okay, like something might happen here, but then the father just dies, like, and you're like, right, another kind of miserable episode in the main character's life. Yeah, I didn't care for the Vegas section at all.
I'm vibing with
Then
Steve.
moved,
What a life.
back or forward in time or whatever, and I should say, like, I don't need to like or even really identify with the main character of a book to enjoy it. I just don't have any love for, that like well-to-do upper class New York, snobby gallery visiting world that Theo seems to come from. I'm not into that. It just reminded me of like Gossip Girl or like a Vampire Weekend album.
Jesus.
Vampire Weekend.
Oh god.
Really went into it, never really kind of, and I couldn't really relate to that. Then just from then on, like after the Vegas thing, I guess I was kind of tainted. The whole book was kind of tainted. It became a bit of a slog. Like certain scenes just dragged on and on. The way she described every facade and every facade of every building, every massively important brush stroke of every painting. It was way too wordy and self-indulgent, and I was like, where is this going? Like, get on with the plot, And then all the characters, like Theo, he's so pessimistic and confused throughout the whole book. He's always, people say things to him, he's like, oh, what, or I don't know, I'm not sure, or whatever, like, maybe that's how teenagers speak, but like it even carries on through the later period of the book. He's just so depressing, and like, and most of the characters are depressing, like they're all sort of burdened, they've dead siblings, dead children, dead parents, like everyone is so jaded and is he Russian? Is he Polish? Is he Ukrainian? Like, what's going on? He speaks in such a strange way. He calls Theo like Harry Potter.
I love that.
I was just like, this character is not real. Like, it just doesn't fit here, you know. And
It was great.
yeah, like the beginning, I
love
really
all
liked.
things he
The
says,
end of the book,
yeah.
I really liked. His sort of meditations on life, but the middle was just really tedious and not really my sort of thing. To be honest, I'm just looking at my other notes here. Yeah, at the beginning, you know, Theo's talking that he's 13 years old, he's going on about Chekhov and Emerson, and I get that he's well educated and all this stuff, but it's just like, this is not how 13-year-olds are. Even a 13-year-old from that part of New York, from that branch of society, like, they have the internet, they know other things, you know. Yeah, so there was that, you know. I didn't care to inhabit the world of the characters for the most part. It was a coming of age story. It was like so I read some review, it described it as a kid's book for adults. So I think that was kind of interesting, you know. Yeah, that's really my thoughts on it. Like, it was quite hard. Like, every night I'd sit down to read 25 to 35 or more pages of it, and like some nights it was a real slog to get through. You know, I don't see what all the hype was about. Really, I'd be interested to hear you guys' thoughts on it.
That was good. A good voice note.
Yeah, good. Really well said.
I think. Do they study like Emerson in school and they talk about money in that context?
No, I remember saying that too, so I thought they were...
Those kids do exist though.
I'm not saying they don't, but him and Boris were annoyingly philosophical. Their references to literary giants and stuff, that when they're 12, 13, kind of drinking, talking about Chekhov. He's right. You can't help but like...
There's a little bit.
I'm sure they exist, but you can't help but be like, these aren't real kids. Like, these aren't real 13-year-olds. I don't know.
I can't see. I'm just not speaking your language. I guess I just can't.
I know, yeah.
You're saying it. It sounds logical, but I just like.
I know, yeah.
I just thought it was sound.
No, and you're like I said, the first thing you should ask, like, did I enjoy that? And you did, like, you know. So you, and I didn't. So, you know, everything else comes from there. Like, we both read the same book,
Did we?
and you just enjoyed all those things that I said I hated. So yeah.
But it never bothered you that kind of, you know, the way it trundled on from episode to episode? I mean,
The Amsterdam was the only bit where I was kind of like, oh wow, it's really,
Yeah.
they're actually just going to Amsterdam.
like, shouldn't there be a limit on that?
Was
you
it
know?
not
Like,
deeper than that though? Do you not think though this is a bit stupid actually that they're going to Amsterdam? Like, this doesn't make sense really that they're going to Amsterdam. It seems like she just wants to go. Donna wants to go to Amsterdam,
I want to go everywhere.
and so we have to go with her. But it doesn't make sense that Theo has to go to Amsterdam. Like you said, this could have easily happened in New York when they go to Horst's apartment. They could have did it around there.
Yeah, it shouldn't like the paint's in New York. Like, let's go to do the deal. Whereas more like the paint's in Amsterdam. Like, Amsterdam. Like, let's go. But then again, maybe we're just like, sure, it's only a
Have it
plane
written
ride.
up.
What? It's only
It's only a plane ride. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
We're Irish. Like,
Yeah,
"Jeez,
I've
we're
heard
all the way
so.
to Amsterdam. You know, maybe it's
right now.
Yeah.
And like when I thought he was going to kill himself at that point. I really did at that bit. And then I don't know. I thought it made sense that the next day he was kind of like, actually,
I don't think that's that outrageous either. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
that
be
happens
honest.
to go with it,
I think trying to kill yourself doesn't exactly mean you're kind of going to try again tomorrow or something. You know, it's
yeah.
I think.
But he
can
said it was
happen
his,
at a low point.
He says himself it was a Damascus moment, as if he had some massive insight. But he doesn't tell us what it was, other than he just wakes up and he's like,
But doesn't
I'm
he-
sure that happens all. He said that
He
happens
kind
all
of
the time.
dreams and shit though, and there's some stuff that happened. I can't remember exactly what it was.
But even getting rid of the painting and having some kind of good closure on the painting is a significant moment, you know, because like it's like, okay,
that's the moment
he's lost the painting, but it's also reached a proper home, you know. So that's that relieves him of a lot of stress as well.
The reward
you
is a
already
bit
know
like
The reward,
Yeah.
2 mil as well.
Yeah. And let me tell you exactly how I did it.
yeah, okay.
Let me tell you.
But that was like the end. That was like Shrek when they're singing, like kind of like nice, you know.
Tell me exactly how it all worked out.
Like I was really shocked at I did not expect the book to be like that as well. I thought the book was going to be, when I was reading the book, I thought it was going to be very much New York. He's going to be adopted by the Barbers, and the painting. It's going to be all about painting and art. He's going to college, and
Same.
I think he'd be like a fucking drug addict when he was like 13. He'd be living in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like Vegas was like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And then the whole connection to the underworld. I didn't see that coming. It's kind of 4 part, because I keep saying when he said the middle there, but like there's a start, the bomb, and after the barbers. That's part 1.
That's
Part
part
2
one.
is Vegas. Part 3 is like back in New York back in New York 8 years later for a bit, and then part 4 is Amsterdam in the end, kind of, to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose.
Even though the last one that he's the same age, but like it kind of feels like a break.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's...
Would you go to 10s?
I've said my piece.
Would you go to
Grizzly.
10s and see what happens?
I gave it 2 out of 5 in it already.
Wow.
And that might be generous, actually.
Out of 10?
Out of 10? Okay, out of 10.
6? 5?
No way, man.
4? 4 out of 10?
It'd be 3, 4, like.
But you can't give 2 out of 5 and then give 3 out of 10, like.
I know, but
Well, it could be between a 1 and a 2.
yeah.
Fuck.
Probably 3 or 4. Let me, just, again, without trying to be outrageous, I honestly mean it when I say I would never recommend it to anyone, and I probably won't read any of her other books. And I didn't enjoy it for probably 70% of the time I was reading it. So that's got to be a 3-4. Like, it's
Damning.
It doesn't
That's a 1.
matter how long it was.
That's a 1.
I know it's not a 1. It's not a 1.
It's like, gee, she wrote it. I mean...
No, it's not. It's not, because I finished it. Now, I know we were doing it for a book club, but
Would you have dropped it? I know you're...
I think I would have dropped it after his dad died, yeah. I was so angry with that. I was so annoyed at the book at that point that I got like 400 or 500 pages in. I thought, finally, something is happening. And then his dad dies, like, you have to go back to New York to sort your inheritance. I was like, fuck this book. Like, really, I that's where I probably would have dropped it. And that's the most charitable viewing of had I read this not in a book club, if I'd even gotten that far. But I think there's very unlikely I would have tipped past that and went, all right, let's give it to her. You know, let's keep going. Let's see where she takes it.
Give it the blow.
Give it the blow.
One guy said to me, and I never got it because I was conscious when I was reading it. He was this guy, he dropped it after 700 pages, which I barely believe. I'm like,
That's wild. I don't
You
know.
just wanted to say that, like.
But he goes, they keep making the same mistakes, particularly like Theo. But like, I was thinking of that all the time, and I was like, no. If anything, he doesn't do anything according to you. They're all.
He keeps not making good decisions. Probably is what your man meant.
I guess.
Which I think was
makes same
bothered
mistake over
Steve
and
as
over
well.
again.
Like, you know, he's constantly in this fog, and he's constantly, taking drugs, but still managing to be really cynical about everyone else. You know, it's like you feel like kind of shouting through the page, and like, well, you're not doing anything either, by the way. Like,
No.
That's probably what he meant. I would say. Like,
It's almost like I don't think of him, and maybe this is the thing. I kind of saw him just as a window into the world. Like, he's just like Theo.
The story revolves around him, but he's not. He's just necessary to take you through these environments and places.
Kind of almost, yeah.
So maybe that's one of the differences between someone who enjoys it and someone who didn't. Because I hated him.
Yeah.
Really didn't like him, regardless of how bad his upbringing was. And the thing Steve said about his dialogue, and it's not just because I split the whole second book between the audiobook and the actual book. So while it's not to do with hearing your man's voice in his head, I hated the way he talked. He was always so befuddled in every interaction. It was so annoying. He was constantly like looking at the ground. I don't know. What do you mean, Bart? There's a conversation. I want to take a picture of the page towards the end of the book where he's talking to Boris, and it's unbelievable the amount Boris is trying to explain to him that. By the way, I had the painting the whole time.
Yeah.
I know, it's 2 pages. I remember, I read it last night.
It's unbelievable of him going,
And she won't let Boris explain.
I don't get what you mean. I don't understand how. But what are you saying? It is his dialogue throughout the whole book is so annoying. He's such an annoying person. And he's so whatever about, the lack of agency or the fact that he lives his life in the wake of other explosive people. The way he talks is so annoying. He's so unlikable. You'd hate him in real life. You'd have to, like.
Probably. When I saw the actor playing in the movie, I was like, that's exactly how I imagined it.
I haven't seen him.
Also, exactly how I imagined the shop, Hobie's shop. It's like
I haven't seen it.
Baxwell.
I watched the trailer. I don't remember the show.
Apparently there's a whole like fan thing about Theo and Boris on YouTube. You can see all these like compilation videos, and they call them like Bio.
Or how do you mean from the movie? Like,
Yeah, or even book, like, you know. She's got like as you were saying on the comments, like she's got a really big following, like.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they started showing they showed the Goldfinch in the Metropolitan like after it came out as well, and it was the traffic they had going in was outrageous.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Outrageous.
Yeah, I'd seen the painting before. I saw the print of it. It's nice.
This like the success of it is it's a crazy story. Like it really blew up.
Yeah. No, it's
So there's obviously there's juice
I've been
there. Like,
because I keep bringing up like it's the exact same thing with Saturday thing. Like it's blown up so much, and like I just don't get it, and I feel like I get whatever. This one won me over in a way that you feel the same way. You just I don't know what else to say. Wait, was one or two of the things that are in the book that. Oh yeah, you got it out of 10.
Probably 5 or 5.5. Like I think I enjoyed reading it, and because of the subject matter, there's a lot of fun to be had in there. But they're kind of disconnected, like different little bits of the story that I like that kind of just affection with the furniture and pieces like that, and some of the descriptions of Vegas and stuff like that. That kept me going through it, and I thought the plot kind of kept going, and I wanted to find out what happened throughout it. But I was a bit pissed off with things that she did. Like I did sigh, like literally sigh a few times. And I said it like I would say to Tanisha to type in a book. Like just be like you didn't earn that. That was a little bit cheap. And for that reason, and I agree with the criticisms of Theo as well. And for that reason, I think it can't be called a great book. I think it has mass appeal because she manages to do the whole the children's book and adults book. On one level, it appears kind of intellectual because it's got these great descriptive passages, and it's about an old valuable piece of art, and yet it's driven along by kind of fantastical, totally coincidental, unrealistic things. So marrying that, there is appeal for that. Like you can seem like it's some kind of not necessarily highbrow, but like you can look respectable reading it, but also like. It's kind of trashy,
Exactly. This is the notion that allows people who did enjoy it to say to people who didn't like it, you missed the whole point of the book. It's unmissable.
Yeah.
It's unmissable.
Yeah. Did you like the movie Big Fish?
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like you were describing movie Big Fish there.
I like movie Big Fish.
And you like Big Fish?
I like movie Big Fish. I watched that on an airplane and I was drinking high nose.
Speaking of, there's another bit that a bit like the Father Line. That I don't know, it didn't bother me, but I maybe was like, oh God, geez, you're really piling on the misery. When he meets Platt, and the fucking father died and Andy drowned.
Yeah.
Was that too much?
Was it necessary?
I feel like no, like there was a lot there.
But then it was because the whole thing with Kitsy and the whole thing about
that's why Miss Barber loved him.
Yeah.
But by the way, it seemed like while he actually lived in Miss Barber's that she didn't like him at all.
I was surprised about the change.
I didn't understand why she ended up loving him.
I thought she wanted him out. That was my impression.
I thought she hated him.
I thought she wanted him out and that it was really uncomfortable and that because
and I was led to believe
he was uncomfortable there because he kind of felt unwanted. That was the strong impression.
He was icy as hell the whole time he lived there. Did she only love him because he was like her girlfriend? She reminded him of Andy, like
Oh, afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards.
Yeah, but I think she did like him. I think
she never told us. She never let us.
She seemed like a complete bitch. Like it seemed like we weren't going to be reintroduced to her. She was just the token Upper East Side horrible snooty mother.
Fairy godmother.
And like,
but they were quite good to him. They took him in.
They had to. Like, they were the only ones there. Like
I don't know. I thought they were moving slowly towards. That's just the way they are. They were moving slowly towards probably going to adopt him or something like that. And then they weren't going to fight for him though with the father. And the father kind of like sound. Or like they didn't feel it was their place or
I thought I was being led to believe it was kind of like James and the Giant Peachy, like this is the evil godmother, the snooty Miss Barber who doesn't really like him and she's really icy, and now ladies and gentlemen, Hobie, the nice godfather, I thought they were trying to let us know he's kind of out of the frying pan there and into a nicer place. And then in the end when she comes back into the book it's like, oh, I loved him all along. Like, well, you didn't let us believe that.
No, I definitely thought she liked him. I just think that's very proper and that's the kind of thing she never like admit that kind of when she's kind of like
I didn't get that at all.
I didn't see that. I thought it would have been just, you know, the whole kind of philanthropic idea of taking in the boy that had been, you know, left orphaned by the get or whatever, you know, that
But
was
they liked the
the
way
reason
they liked it. No, he liked being there. He always said that.
He liked Andy. The kids hated him. The siblings hated him when he was younger.
Kitsy and Platt, yeah.
They hated everyone though, they're little kids.
Yeah, but they sounded like real assholes.
Okay, I did a lot. Yeah, I know what you mean with the whole thing with Hobie being the nice old man. That was definitely there, but I didn't see the. I was dying. I was hoping they were not that.
Sorry, another thing we haven't talked about is Pippa.
Oh
no!
We're quiet.
Yeah. No, we're not gonna do we even need to go into this? Like, we're just gonna go through the same discussion except on her.
Yeah,
you know?
I know. Yeah.
She wasn't great. Now, in fairness,
she was like, it was unclear if she had brain damage. There was a bit where they were on about the school, remember? And she had stitching on. She had a brain injury, and then she was like, "I'm in a special school in Switzerland," and I was like, "Oh, right." But then that just wasn't anything. She was just kind of psychological.
It was a nervous, because she talked about not being able to play. Remember?
Oh, she has
yeah. So she doesn't have anxiety or something.
But that bit when she's back visiting and he arrives. Yeah, there's a conversation where it's like, oh yeah, one of the girls like ran away or something.
Yeah.
And he'd heard about that girl
children.
Yeah.
Which was handy as well.
No.
It was.
He'd heard the name, you know.
No more cheap digs.
Oh no, I know her. She went to my Gaeltacht. Like,
no,
in Switzerland,
yeah.
I think I know her.
No, I think it was.
I heard about that.
No, it was a girl from the school.
Obi took her in years ago.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, talk about her more. So
Pippa as a character. Yeah, I don't know. Just again, I actually have to be careful now that I'm not just because you said I didn't like this book. I'm just I'm saying things now that might not actually be fair criticism of the book because I disliked it so much. But yeah, it would seem to me the negative person in the room that like she was just there as we need an unrequited love situation also in this book. I need that, but not one that is going to get too muddy. One that we can pull in and out every now and then, you know.
Yeah,
she's there. She's gone. She's in the, you know, she comes back for a visit. She's gone again. Donna could just use her when she needed her, like, you know.
What I found annoying about her was
but that might not be fair. That might just be because I'm just hated it so much.
Yeah. There often is someone like that in every book, though. Yeah, and maybe that's...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing that maybe it's stupid of me. It's not even a criticism to say that. Like, but
she was too cryptic for most of the book as well. It was like the guy clearly loves you, and you're just like, hey, my English boyfriend's here, and the voice in the audiobook is really annoying as well.
The English boyfriend is totally cliched. My God.
Yeah, it was like the girl of your dreams, and she's out with drab, like whatever.
Yeah.
But one thing I thought was good about, and I was like, respect is, she wrote really well from a man's perspective about pining after a girl. Like, that was really well done. You were like, there's bits where he's like describing it and he's like going mental and stuff, and you're like, yeah, that was really well done. I forgot it was a woman writing the book.
Being really fucked up and leaving the necklace in her shoe, like, I'll just do it like this.
Right,
you know,
that was kind of
like,
and then afterwards he's like, oh, what did I do that for? You know, and he's like, oh yeah, and then your hobby's like, why'd you write that? And then he's like,
why'd you give her $35,000 necklace, you freak? On the night of your engagement party.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just looked at the ground. I didn't know what to say. I'm not sure. Like,
she wasn't. I was confused as well because she's there at the bombing, and is she a bit like the Goldfinch as well? She's like a beautiful thing he saw before the bomb went off.
I don't know. Yeah, he seems maybe it's for the same reason he seems extremely spiritually connected to Welty, you know.
Yeah.
They happened to be there at the most pivotal and traumatic and devastating moment of his entire life, which would affect the rest of his life. So whoever was on the ground that day, he would have said that about, of course.
Except instead of one of those things, there's three. There's Welty. Well, there's kind of Welty, Hobie, Pippa, and a painting.
And a ring.
You know, but yeah, and the ring. I was like, the ring is so necessary. I remember thinking that, being like, the ring is the painting, like, that's that. You know, like, Welty can't give him a painting and a ring and his niece
and a bird
and his brother and a job. You know, but you know, the ring was unnecessary. Like, there was,
what do you mean? Why was the ring unnecessary?
Because you already have that item that symbols the moment and the explosion before and after. So it's a vehicle for him to find Hobie.
Yeah.
He also said the name of the store.
Image of
Welty
him on the
said
ground.
the name of the store to him.
I know, but he's like, I met. Yeah, I know.
Think about it. I love seeing the movie.
It's
Think
just the
about it.
indulgent nature of the book all over again.
Well, the girl
Marine.
is dying. He's like, hey, take this. Take that.
Yeah. No, wait, take this first. Yeah. But take that as well. No.
Take my bag.
Don't lose that, but whatever you do, don't lose that.
I need to reread the bit.
Because I used to love it when I was young.
Is he not thinking? Is he not thinking to take it? It's Welty that tells him to take the painting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
Because he loves
Because
it
he
when
loves
was
the
younger.
painting. He has the picture of it. I hope he shows him the picture
we found
that he
out-
had at the very
I
end.
know, but
full.
why take it from the museum?
To save it, I suppose. I think that was kind of his thinking. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, he was about to die. He was about 90 years old, but like.
He had a reproduction of it. He'd had a reproduction of it when he was younger, and it was one of his beloved artifacts.
Yeah.
And that was the first time him seeing it in real life. The day the museum, and he's like, I can't let it get away again. The pursuit of pure beauty is a trap, but also beat that, like, will you, and keep it with you your whole life because I couldn't do it.
Oh, you're so hard and logical, dude.
And tell Hogan to get out of the cellar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's as you indulgent, yeah. But if it's a lovely chocolate mousse, like indulge me.
I'll fucking slurp it up.
Yeah, I'll spend 8 weeks eating it. I'd give it like 8 out of 10. What? I know.
Ronan.
I loved it. I just thought it was a great book.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. You're not the only one.
I know. Yeah. It's very divisive. Yeah.
People seem to be whisked away by it. That's
it. Let's
that's
take
another thing. Maybe the idea that it goes to 3 or 4 places is something that people could like. I thought it was a little bit cheap, but some people felt like, I've just, I dived into this world and now it's taking me to all these class places and it's driven on by the painting and the whole idea of the painting is so romantic, and that's also enough.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, it's not a very well. There's rough edges, like it's clunky. There's a lot there, like the monologue at the end is class, but then I could agree with someone saying like, where'd that come out of?
Yeah.
But then like I thought it was class. I loved the monologue. I was like, that was class.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's it. That's the Goldfinch.
That's it.
Yeah.
Class book club book though.
Yeah, good book.
The all-time book club book.